Thanks for watching. You're watching the Fox Business Network. Let's welcome back to the show. Look who's here with us. Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, it's so good to have you back on. So you led a Senate delegation in a tour of the Texas-Mexico border today. Can you tell us what happened?
Sure, Elizabeth, it's great to be with you again. I'm actually still down in South Texas in the Rio Grande Valley, and I led a team of 18 senators. 18 U.S. senators came down to the valley to see firsthand the crisis that is unfolding here. And we spent last night, we went and joined the Border Patrol agents at their 10 p.m. muster and then took the time to thank those incredible heroes who stand up and defend our nation. And then we joined them on a midnight patrol and went down to the Rio Grande, saw illegal immigrants crossing in large numbers. We saw traffickers on the Mexican side of the river preparing to cross. And then today we visited detention facilities, in particular the Donna detention facility, which is a giant tent city that has been constructed in response to this overwhelming crisis that's unfolding on the border. And the capacity in the Donna facility with COVID restrictions is 250 people. It has right now about 4,000 people in it. So it is over 1,500 times, 500% of its capacity. And we saw the Biden cages. We saw cage after cage after cage that the Biden administration has filled with kids. They are packed in there. They're not 6 feet apart or 3 feet apart. They're side by side. And the rate of COVID positivity in the Donna facility is about 10%. What they're doing is inhumane, it's unconscionable, and it was preventable. It's the direct result of political decisions the Biden administration has made.
So were you taunted? Were you and other senators taunted by human and drug traffickers across the Rio Grande River? Did that happen?
Yeah, well, it did. So we took a trail down to the river, and we were at the river's edge. And a group of senators and Customs and Border Patrol agents were there, and we were looking and shining our lights. And on the other side of the river were several traffickers who saw our lights. And I'm sure they assumed we were CBP officers. And they saw our lights there, and so they began shining flashlights at us, which actually they had very high-power flashlights, so they were able to just light us up from across the river. And they began yelling and taunting from across the river. And what the CBP agents told me is they do that routinely, that anytime they see a Border Patrol agent, they taunt them because right now the border is open, and these human traffickers know that they can bring people in with impunity. And we're seeing, last month we saw over 100,000 illegal immigrants detained, and it is only getting worse. This month is projected to be over 140,000. The Biden administration is detaining over 15,000 children right now. And so the traffickers are feeling unbeatable because the Biden administration refuses to enforce the law against them.
Yeah, Democrat Henry Cuellar of Texas says they're making hundreds of millions of dollars because of the president's weak policies here. President Biden said effectively that people are coming here because he's, quote, a nice guy. Senator, let's listen to President Biden here.
I guess I should be flattered. People are coming because I'm the nice guy. That's the reason why it's happening. That I'm a decent man, or however it's phrased. That, that's why they're coming, because Biden's a good guy. Truth of the matter is, nothing has changed. As many people came, 28% increase in children to the border in my administration, 31% in the last year in 2019 before the pandemic in the Trump administration.
Okay, so he says people are coming here because he's a nice guy. By the way, we are now surpassing 2019 levels by about a third in terms of border apprehensions. Your response to the president here?
Yeah, well, what President Biden just said there is ludicrous. So a lot has changed. And the week President Biden was sworn in, he made 3 very consequential decisions. Number one, he announced that all construction of the border wall was immediately halted. I've just toured several portions of the wall that are partially constructed, and they literally halted midway with rebar sticking up and it's rusting now in the open air because they ordered everything to halt instantaneously. Number two, President Biden ordered the administration to return to the failed catch and release policy. So now when illegal immigrants are detained, they're released, they're given a court date sometime in the future, and everyone knows that very few of them are ever going to show up ever again. And number three, and this is probably the most consequential, is they ended the Remain in Mexico agreement with Mexico. And this is, in 2019, President Trump negotiated really an historic agreement with the nation of Mexico, where the government of Mexico agreed that with illegal immigrants who were crossing from Central America through Mexico and crossing illegally through Mexico, that those immigrants would remain in Mexico while their asylum cases proceeded in the United States. And that agreement resulted in a dramatic reduction in illegal immigration, so much so that last year we had the lowest rates of illegal immigration in 45 years. What did Joe Biden do when he came in? On day one, he ripped that international agreement to shreds, and as a result of his policy change, his announcement was essentially, come to America, the border's open, and I'll tell you, the traffickers heard him, and they are coming.
It's still, there is no President Biden visiting the border. Former President Donald Trump might visit the border. His aide, Jason Miller, says no trip is imminent. There have yet to be any House Democrat hearings on the border crisis. There were at least 10 under President Trump. The Democrats even sent staffers to the border. Under the Trump administration. The CEO of Gallup, Senator, is saying 42 million people south of the border want to come here. We're tracking the asylum cases. Less than 1% had legitimate claims during the Remain in Mexico policy under Trump. So, all of this is going on while there's still this weird media blackout at the border. 20 House Republicans sent a letter to Biden to say, stop the media blackout. So, but then at the same time, we have the media fawning over President Biden for his performance at his presser, where he had cheat sheets and talking points. All right, COVID's going well right now. I mean, so, we keep hearing from border authorities, Senator, that this is a humanitarian crisis because women and children are getting attacked along the way as they try to cross illegally. We've seen unmarked gravestones of people being buried near the border because they didn't make it, because they were killed along the way. This is a humanitarian crisis. The media not yet picking up on that angle. Your reaction to that?
Well, you're right. The media is refusing to do their job. That press conference was ludicrous in that you had reporters just throwing softballs at President Biden, and he read scripted from his notes. There were not the hard questions that needed to occur about what's happening on the border. I can tell you that last night, as we were joining the Border Patrol on their midnight patrol, we saw just caravans of illegal immigrants coming, young children coming. We saw in one detention facility that's been erected just under the bridge of a highway, that there were hundreds of kids just in pens outside. So they're sleeping on the ground outside, covered in reflective emergency blankets. We saw several mothers with infant children who were nursing, who were just coming in droves. We also saw, when we were out on the boat with Texas DPS, we saw a dead body floating in the river of someone who attempted to cross the river and didn't make it. This is a humanitarian crisis, and the COVID situation in these detention facilities, the Donna facility, has a 10% positivity rate. They are releasing, the Biden administration is releasing illegal immigrants who are testing positive for COVID at a rate 7 times higher than the U.S. population. And apparently you just played a clip from the media saying COVID's going great, other than releasing thousands of illegal immigrants that are potentially COVID positive.
Wow. Senator, thank you for the update. We're so grateful you came on, and thanks for your insights and perspective there. We'll have you back on soon. Senator Ted Cruz at the border just now. Thank you, Senator. Coming up.